Good afternoon. This is Channel 1 Lunchtime News. I trust you're having a lovely day so far. We have a comprehensive bulletin lined up for you this afternoon. My name is Jacky. Wambiru. Our sign language interpreter is Baringo. And remember, you can interact with us on our Twitter handle at KBC Channel 1 or at Jacky Wambiru. Now, to kick us off, 3 people have died, including 2 children, after a boat capsized in Lake Baringo. The boat is reported to have been carrying more people than its recommended capacity at the time of the accident on Saturday evening. The 8-capacity vessel was carrying 12 people on board. Among those who perished was a 1-year-old infant. Rescue efforts are ongoing. Moving on, angry parents and pupils of Vikutsa Primary School in Kakamega County have protested the transfer of the school land to a family in the area. The family is alleged to have filed and won a court case on the ownership of the school land, but the community has refused to accept the verdict.
A row has erupted over the ownership of a piece of land currently occupied by Vikutsa Primary School in Shinyalu, Kakamega County. Locals are accusing a family in the area of colluding with the courts to grab the piece of land.
Tumesikia tu ati kuna ruling, wakati wengine tumepitia katika zile rulings tukaona kama si halali, kwa sababu hii shule tangia mimi nizaliwe nimejua kwamba ni shule ya serikali.
Hii ni shule yetu. Tulifungia kwa gate. Sijui ni kwa nini wanataka tutusomee wapi, na tuko wanafunzi 500. Tuko wengi, hakuna penye tunaweza enda.
It is alleged the family won the case on the ownership and has consequently started tilling the land, a turn of events that has angered the parents and pupils of the school. The community claims the school has been there since 1974 and the contesting family used crooked means to win the case.
Mzee ambaye ni babu ni mzee ambaye ni missionary na aliona uzuri wa elimu na akaanzisha kanisa pamoja na shule, na tunashangaa kuona watoto wake ama babu wameona elimu si kitu ya maana, na ndio wamevamia shule, wamelima, wamechenga, wamefanya hii mambo yote mnaona.
Vile walikuja wakifunga mashule, hata tulisema tutafanya wapi mtihani, na kwa shule vile tulikuja kufunga, tulikuta wamefunga gate, tukafungia shule kwa gate. Sasa hatujui shida ilikuwa wapi.
Na watoto wetu ndio hawa wanatakana wasome, alafu nimesikia kuna mtu hata ukiangalia kule wamelima kiwanja ya shule, watoto hawezi kucheza, watoto hawezi kuingia hapa, wamefunga shule zetu. Kuna nursery na hizo shule zetu. Anasema ilikuwa ni shamba ya mababu. Ati amekuja kwa sababu ilikuwa ni shamba mababu na mababu. Ati ameenda kotini, ametumia njia zake. Mimi nakwambia hamna vile utaishi hapa kama uheshimu shule yetu.
Area MP Justice Kizito joined the community demanding that the school be reopened on Monday. Kevin Washira, Channel 1 News.
And away from that, let's link up with Gladys Mungai, who's at the Holy Family Basilica, to bring us to details on what's happening on the ground. Gladys, kindly bring us to speed.
Good afternoon to you, Jacky. We are live from the Holy Family Basilica here in Nairobi County. We are following up on the first Mass and the first Sunday of the year, how it has been, and those who have attended the church, and basically the message given to the priest, to the congregation and the nation nation at wide. And today's message happens to be by this first Sunday of 2021, and as opposed to previous Sundays where we've been camping here and seeing that the church has been half to capacity. Today the church has been full, but the COVID-19 protocols have been observed. We observed that people were not allowed to access the church without having to wear the mask, and also matters to do with sanitizing. That is basically to protect those who attend the church service from maybe contracting COVID-19. And today's message was based on matters to uplift one another in the society, the church and the congregation at large, and the nation. Priests urging Kenyans to be the stars. You remember the issue of the star when Jesus Christ was born, and what transpired with King Herod trying to dim Jesus Christ's star. And the nation at large has been urged to be the persons uplifting one another in the society to ensure that goals have been achieved and people get to attain what they want in life, basically to be the force that pushes one another to get to the next level. And just to shed more light into what has been transpiring in today's service, I'm joined by one of the congregants here and a parent at Holy Family Basilica. His name is Alex. He'll be telling us more about today's theme and why perhaps he opted to come to Sunday service. Alex, welcome very much to KBC. We are live. Please tell our viewers today's message. You followed the whole Mass. What is today's message about?
Thank you very much, KBC. I would like to wish you a Happy New Year before I continue with what I want to say about today's Mass. Today I could not stop from coming to the Mass. It is the first Sunday of the year, so I had to be here today in person other than following it in the television. Today's message was about the three wise men, commonly known as the Magi, that were looking for Jesus Christ so that they may worship him. But they were following the star, but at one point they passed through Herod. Herod wanted also to know where the Jesus is so that they may be able to worship him. But that was a lie. His intention was to dim the star of Jesus Christ so that his own children may inherit as the kings of that country. They did not like the idea of Jesus Christ being the king of the area. And so when the Magi left, they went, found Jesus, and because they are wise men, they did not go back to Herod because they did not want Herod to dim the star of Jesus Christ. So we are all now advised by this homily today that we should not think of dimming stars of our young people who are growing up now. Our young people should be instead encouraged. They should not be looked at as stars that we are going to dim our star. Let us encourage them so that they may be able to achieve their goals and their achievements in life. Yeah, that is the homily about today.
What is your prospects for 2021?
My prospects for 2021, for one thing, is that I would pray that this pandemic, which has really brought us backwards, but still has given us, we have learned lessons out of it, that we should be now a one people. We should love one another and live together in harmony, and that we should be able to get success in achieving our goals, whatever they are. And we should not stop other people from succeeding in their work. Otherwise, we should be our brothers' keepers and sisters' keepers, and we should encourage them to be able to get their goals. Yeah. Also, I will notice that in the homily, when the Magi lost the star, they lost their way and went to Herod. But when they found the star again, it led them directly to where they were supposed to be. And also the homily tells us that they brought presents to the king, who is Jesus Christ. And that was gold, incense, and myrrh. Those are important things because they have got their meaning. And in those meanings, we should also know that we should be generous and we should worship our God, because they also went there and worshipped Jesus Christ.
Lastly, we've seen that this is 2021 and we've seen the church is full to capacity.
Yes.
Probably, according to you, did you attend the church service that was done with very few persons in church? And perhaps if you happen to attend the church in 2020, and also we've seen you here, yes. So probably what inspired you to get to follow masses by coming to the church as opposed to probably following them online?
It was my great desire for the church to come back to its normal. So I was very eager for the first church. The day people were allowed, I started coming to church straight away. I saw that the church had few people, but you will not get the real impact of the messages when you are looking at it through the television. When you are alive, that is when you really feel the essence of the message. Thank you. Yeah.
Jacky, there you have it. Those are sentiments from one of the congregates here at Holy Family Basilica, basically telling us that his desire for spiritual nourishment pushed him to attend church services in the wake of COVID-19. And the fact that the protocols of health matters have been observed, maybe that is one of the key issues that have pushed people to get to attend church services across the country. And just to mention that today's message in regards to getting to push one another has reverberated across our masses. And as we have this interview, the last church service is continuing behind us in church, and that is the latest from Holy Family Basilica. Back to you in studio.
Well, thank you so much, Gladys Mungai, with the message of the first Sunday of the year. Now, let's cross over to other matters where as schools are prepared to reopen their gates for learners, little progress has been reported across several private schools which suffered a financial setback due to the prolonged closure. Now, a private school in Athi River, Machakos County, has resorted to obtaining a loan to resume operations and adhere to the COVID-19 protocols, including social distancing, setting up hand washing points and provision of sanitizers. Safina Chingoma with details of how private schools are struggling to stay afloat.
As several schools across the country finalize their preparations for reopening beginning Monday morning, there is little activity in most private schools, with at least 331 schools opting to permanently close shop owing to the devastating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. For those that have opted to readmit learners, the journey has not been without struggling in ensuring compliance to the COVID-19 protocols. This is the situation at Konza Plainview Academy in Athi River sub-county of Machakos County. Last-minute preparations are ongoing, fumigation and rearrangements of desks to observe social distancing. Several new classrooms have also been constructed with dozens of water points, enough to cater for about 400 pupils. The head teacher, however, says that the school's management opted to secure a loan to facilitate the implementation of the COVID-19 safety protocols and is worried of tough times ahead as the school remains financially crippled.
Tuko na tangi za maji za kutosha za kustore water. Tumenunua chemicals za kutosha, sprayer pumps za kutosha, thermal guns tuko nazo, sanitizers tuko nazo, na hata labor, wale wafanyikazi wa kufanya hiyo kazi tuko nao. Kidogo challenge kidogo tunapata, ugumu wa pesa uko, lakini tulibahatika kupata mkopo, loan, pesa kulipa baadaye kwa sababu hatukuwa na otherwise.
Most public schools across the sub-county, which serve learners from 5 informal settlements, also remain closed, with less activity leaving the fate of learners in limbo. Meanwhile, Busia County Deputy Speaker Lawrence Okal has called on the government to fast-track the process of importing the vaccine against coronavirus. Speaking at a burial in Kakapel village of Teso North Sub-County, Okal said that if the jab is made available, parents will be more confident about the safety of their children as schools reopen.
I hear CS Mutahi Kagwe saying that he wants this vaccine to be brought. But I want him to move with speed so that in the next 2 weeks or so, that we begin to actually administer the vaccine to our to the people and the students together with the teachers, because all of them are are worried a lot.
And a fumigation exercise that targets close to 150 private and public learning institutions has been started in Uriri constituency, Migori County. Speaking in Rapogi Primary School during the launch of the exercise, which is expected to cost about 2.5 million shillings, the area Member of Parliament Mark Nyamita called on the Ministry of Education to put special focus on the safety of learners with underlying conditions.
I also want to take this opportunity to ask parents that as they plan to bring their children to school, please ensure your child at least has a mask. Please ensure that your child has a bottle that they have carried water or even possibly sanitizer.
Because we have a population that may be young but have got underlying health conditions. These are the population that is also at risk. We ask the Ministry of Health to take data of such pupils, such students, such teachers, so that they are also given specialized attention.
This even as leaders from the Salvation Army Church in Matunda, Kakamega County, have called on the need for collaboration between parents, teachers and the government in instilling moral values to the children as they report back to school.
Ikiwa wazazi tumekuwa na tumekosa patience, najua walimu watakosa patience kwa kiasi kikubwa, lakini naomba kwamba wawapokee na wajadiliane na wazazi. Mzazi ashirikiane na mwalimu kuleta ile nidhamu.
For Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Aching Ouma.
And as schools prepare to reopen their gates Monday morning, that is tomorrow, we take a look at matters on the ground whereby, led by Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha, a multi-agency team is meeting today, that is Sunday, to address matters regarding the full reopening of learning institutions. And to bring us to speed on what is happening, our reporters are manning the ground, and I will link up with Caroline Kamau to bring us to speed.
A very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. We're live from the KICC here in Nairobi, waiting for that in an interministerial briefing led by Education CS George Magoha, Health CS Mutahi Kagwe is also expected, ICT's Joe Moshero, and Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i is also expected to address the reopening of schools that is expected tomorrow. And of course, all indications are that schools will be reopening come tomorrow, 4th of January. That is after 9 months of closure. The last few days, of course, we've seen the Cabinet Secretary for Education, George Magoha, going around schools on the 1st of January. He was actually at Babadogo Secondary School just to look at the preparedness of schools. Yesterday, we saw him at Kibera Secondary School as well, and he also went to Kiagoshi Primary School in Muranga just to check the school's preparedness ahead of that reopening that is expected tomorrow. Today, I'm also joined by my colleague, Nancy Okware, if you could just join me to just, of course, talk about these issues that have been happening in the last, it's been 9 months since schools closed. What are some of the things that the Health Ministry have done? I know that as far as education is concerned, the Minister for the CS rather, for education has said that, of course, if your child is not masked, then they will not be allowed in class. So masks have been made mandatory starting tomorrow. What are some of the things that have been happening in the health sector to ensure safety of children as they go back to school tomorrow?
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, Caroline Kamau. Indeed, first of all, since the schools closed about 9 months ago, since the first COVID-19 case was reported in the country, the Ministry of Health has been doing so much just to ensure that indeed reopening of schools will be possible. And of course, remember that the first group of students went back to school, that is the candidates, class 8, and of course, Form 4 and grade 4 students. And the Ministry of Health Health worked towards ensuring that all the learners in the institutions had their face masks, and of course those who were unable to get the masks were provided with them. And of course the Ministry of Health in conjunction with the Ministry of Education were ensuring that in order to achieve the social distancing aspect that is very key, then they were ensuring that there are more desks that were actually being made for the students, so that when they go back to school they are able to achieve the social distancing aspect, which is a bit tricky because so many Kenyans have been asking why the Ministry of Health Education is opting to reopen the schools at a time when the numbers are higher. Remember that we actually have to go back to normal. It is a pandemic that we are not sure how long it's going to be here with us. So as a country we have to be prepared because so many other countries have actually been doing that. And Carol, as you know, is that the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education have been ensuring that in the schools that COVID-19 cases were reported, then they ensure that if a case is reported in that school, then it is isolated there without necessarily having to close the school. And maybe Caroline, as we finish up, you can talk about some of the issues you've seen have actually been addressed in the schools that you've visited so far.
I think you did raise 2 points there, and I'll just talk about them very quickly as we wrap this up. You talked about isolation. I've seen isolation centers in several schools that have already been set up, but of course the challenge is still there. The concerns are still there that schools don't have enough infrastructure at a time like now when you're going because of the pandemic. But like you said, you raised an issue about social distancing, but the CS for Health has categorically put it that we might not be able to achieve social distancing, and that is why we're making wearing of masks mandatory in all our schools. So I think it will be interesting to see what happens from tomorrow as schools resume. And of course the CS has said it's the first time this is happening in this country, so let us deal with the deficiencies as we go on. So I think Kenyans should be ready for reopening, which is from tomorrow, and let's of course see how the ministry progresses with the schools reopening. And of course I think the onus is also for parents. As your children resume school, make sure that you educate them on the need to know things, the protocols that are supposed to be followed, wearing your mask properly, washing your hands. I think the onus is also on our parents to ensure that your children is well educated on what to do. So we'll be waiting for the CS.
Indeed.
The CS Mutahi Kagwe will also be here, and of course let's see what they have for the nation.
And you did remember that Health CS Mutahi Kagwe said that the face mask is actually part of the school uniform.
True.
If a parent is unable to afford the face mask, then it will be provided. But for those who are able to afford them, then they need to ensure that as the learners go back to school, they are well equipped. We will continue keeping tabs on what is happening here, and of course as soon as they arrive here, we will be taking you live just to hear what more they have to say in terms of the preparedness of the schools to handle the COVID-19 pandemic. For now, we hand it back to you, Jacky Wambiru, at the broadcasting house.
Back to you.
Is our team on the ground giving us an address on the preparedness of schools ahead of the full reopening of learning institutions come Monday amid the COVID-19 pandemic. We shall keep you updated on details coming in. Now, on other matters, over 200 families in Dula informal settlement in Thika received donations from well-wishers amid a pledge to equip them to venture into dairy farming. Now, the donation was aimed at cushioning the families from the adverse effects of the pandemic.
It was a sigh of relief for families from Dula slums in Thika, Kimbu County when help came knocking. A majority of the families lost their livelihoods owing to COVID-19 disruptions, making it difficult for them to put food on the table.
So we are supporting people, and in the future also, not only giving, so we are going to teach how to grow themselves very nicely, how they keep cows and how give protection to the cows.
The families received donations of foodstuffs and other basic amenities through a joint initiative by Hari Krishna, a farm that has been conducting agriculture and dairy farming in the area.
Tumepewa na watu. Kwa hivyo kama utafikiria kuuza hii chakula, ni jambo nzuri kupatiwa chakula, lakini utapata thawabu kwa Mwenyezi Mungu, sababu kuna mtu ametoa jasho kama vile anatoa sahi sababu ya kupanga watu kuinua hii chakula.
The families were warned against selling items received through donations.
Tumefurahia sababu ya kutupea sikukuu, ametupea unga ya ugali, ametupea unga ya chapati, hata mikate ya bovu na sukari.
The beneficiaries hailed the initiative for offering them relief in the face of the pandemic.
Onekania chumi rudi chini, makazi ikazoroteka, sasa tulikuwa tunakaa maisha tu ya sikukuu ya wakati huu ilikuwa mbaya, haikuwa sawa. Hata tunashukuru Mungu benye kupata hii mwaka 2021, tumeipata na baraka nyingi.
For Channel 1 News, I'm Serafina Robi.
And in the sports arena, Munami FC are the winners of the annual Aquata football tournament after trouncing Quills 1-0 in a closely contested match played at Munami Primary School, Bungoma County. Alan Wamati scored the lone goal to hand Munami FC the title en route to the final. Munami FC saw off Couture on penalties, while Quills also beat Levantes through post-match penalties. The annual tournament, which seeks to sensitize the youth against drug abuse and crime, attracted 24 teams drawn from Busie, Bungoma and Kakamega counties.
Ulimwengu umerudisha ikakuwa ni kijiji. You can Google anything. Unaweza kaa ukapatia mwenzako picha, ukafanya dribbling, footwork nini, ukatuma. Mtu ataona hiyo picha, hiyo video, akutafute mpaka hapa Munami chini, akwambie hebu kuja trials.
Saa hizi mpira ni kazi. Saa hii watu wanakulia kwa mpira. Ukweli uongo? Na saa hii, for you to be a good footballer, number one, you must be disciplined. Discipline na mpira zinaambatana. So mi naomba tukicheza mpira, tucheze tukijua kwamba mpira saa hii ni ajira.
Alexander Lacazette continued his fine form as Arsenal thrashed West Bromwich Albion 4-0 at the Hawthorns, the third consecutive win in the English Premier League. Meanwhile, Wolverhampton Wanderers lost a 3-1 lead with Brighton and Hove Albion securing a 3-3 draw at the Amex Stadium.
He put the dominant visitors ahead with a superb solo goal, his first of the season.
Tierney playing with his marker and sending in a wonderful shot to open the scoring for Arsenal. He might have the finesse with his left foot, but he has the finish with his right. Sam Johnson couldn't reach it.
With the informed Bukayo Saka doubling the lead shortly after.
Saka, Lacazette, good spot. Emile Smith-Rowe is in, and he tees up Saka. 2 in 5 minutes for the Gunners. Saka with the finish this time.
Alexander Lacazette backed it out in the 60th minute after an error from Semi Ajayi.
The following weekend against Wolves at Molineux. It's a big game coming up. Saka. Oh, good play by Bukayo Saka. Oh, and it's almost diverted in by a West Brom player, and eventually Lacazette with the finish.
With the French forward securing a brace 4 minutes later.
And now Arsenal are surging forward looking for their fourth, Aubameyang. Lacazette down the middle, out it goes to Tierney. Several options in the middle, one of them is Lacazette, and it's a straightforward finish for the Frenchman to score yet another goal over the Christmas period.
Also at the Amex Stadium, Alfred Connolly gave Brighton the lead top of the La Liga standings after a 2-0 home win over Celta Vigo, with Lucas Vázquez and Marco Asensio on the score sheet.
Madrid breaking, Marco Asensio with the cross to the far post, and Lucas Vázquez. Modric winning possession, Casemiro finding Lucas Vázquez, on to Marco Asensio, and a composed finish for his first goal of the season. As it finished, Real Madrid 2, Celta 0.
Well, that brings us to the end of our bulletin this afternoon. For more news, check out our website at kbc.co.ke. We shall have more news in our consecutive bulletins, that is at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. My name is Jacky. Wambiru, our sign language interpreter has been Lensa Odingo. Enjoy the rest of the day.